You're not building just a sandcastle. You're building memories. South Padre Island is the perfect place for fun in the sun. Book your summer getaway today. Visit sopadre.com.
My plan. I say lob it to Ryan Perez in the paint off a couple of screens.
Esquivel to Garcia. Off the deflection. Los Fresnos comes back and wins. Now Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
There's Warner. Here comes a head of the jam. Counted for two. A field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved.
What a game. What's this? Smack. To the left. That is gone.
Lob for Perez. That's my play. Off the backboard. Count it. And a win. And a win. Ryan Perez wins the game for the Santa Rosa Warriors, and they go nuts. And why not?
Live once again here from Luke Fruia Motors. And this is, well, Talkin Sports. I'm Jacob Young. Once again here from Luke Fruia Motors, and well, yes, we're going to talk sports, going to talk a little bit of soccer, of course. When you get me, you get talking soccer, and then of course we're always going to talk a little bit of, well, what's coming up, and of course talking about the WPF, the Women's Professional Fast Pitch Softball League, as of course Rio Sports Live has been blessed with being able to cover a team throughout their season this year. That's Coastal Bend Tidalway. We'll talk about them and, of course, their upcoming games and what they've been doing in the past and their key players and all that fun stuff and what we expect to see from them this weekend. Their weekend series starting, yes, on the 4th of July tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that should be a really fun series as well. If you're in Robstown, of course, go catch a game there. If you can't, well, you can find it on Rio Sports Live Network, the RSL Network Channel 1. The RSL Channel 1 to be exact. Find it on Roku TV. Find it on your app from the App Store, Google Play Store as well. If you're watching this right now, hopefully you're tuned in on any of those, as well as Android TV and, of course, Amazon Fire Stick. So, yes, glad to have you all with us here today and excited to talk some fantastic sports with you all once again. We start off with, well, just getting you all updated on what's been going on this summer, not only for this specific with Rio Sports Live Network, but also with what's been going on across the pond and here as well with Copa America and the UEFA Euros. The UEFA Euros finally ended their round of 16, their knockout stages as well. It's been so much fun to watch. And well, with the knockout stages in the UEFA Euros being over, no real upset ended up happening, which was very crazy in a sense, considering, well, I guess the real upset that you could think about is the first game of the round of 16, Saturday, June 29th, Switzerland playing Italia, and Switzerland beat Italy 2-0, which was a little bit of an upset considering that Italy had won the UEFA Euros 3 years ago, considering 2021, it was 2020, but of course we had the pandemic, so no summer events that were supposed to take place that year happened. They just took place the next year and cut it short for 3 years of a turnaround instead of 4. So it changed a lot of players' perspectives and all of that. Italy won the UEFA Euros in 2021 and got eliminated in the round of 16 this year. And crazy enough, that's not the first time that that's happened in tournament history. 2016. Portugal won they won the tournament, is what I'm trying to say. Guess what? The next year, lost in the round of 16. The year prior to that, Spain. Well, the tournament prior to that, Spain as well. 2016, got knocked out in the round of 16. So it happens a lot to the champions is what I was trying to get at. Close call for sure was England-Slovakia. England down 1-0 very late in the game. Were able to tie it up, move into extra time, and then Harry Kane saves the day for England, winning 2-1. And now they'll play Saturday at 11 a.m. England-Switzerland, which is going to be a fun one. Romania, Netherlands, that happened yesterday. Netherlands won 3-0 easily over Romania. And Austria playing Turkey. Turkey win 2-1 over Austria. Austria had a late chance to equalize, but could not get the job done. And now it's Netherlands. They'll face Turkey. Then Germany, Denmark played. Germany beats Denmark 2-0. It was a good competition, but Denmark could not make the run that they did 3 years ago. Unfortunately, their road ends in the round of 16 in the knockout stage. Then you had Spain playing Georgia. Spain rolls over Georgia 4-1. Georgia did take the lead early on, but then Spain were able to come back and easily be victorious in the end. Spain, Germany, 11 a.m. July 5th on Friday. That game should be an instant classic and something that we would have expected in the championship. Instead, both of them, they win their group. And so they were bound to meet up before the championship match. Unfortunately, that should be fun. France and Belgium played on Monday, and France just beats Belgium late and wins 1-0. And they'll play against Portugal. Portugal will win 3-0 in PKs. They drew against Slovenia in everywhere until extra time, and 3-0 your final. So Portugal, France, Spain, Germany, Netherlands, Turkey, and England, Switzerland. That is your UEFA Euro update. Now moving on quickly to none other than the update of Copa America. And this is where things, of course, get a little bit more interesting to talk about just because, well, it has a lot to do with where we are in the valley from, well, the United States of America, and then talking also, of course, about L3, a.k.a. the Mexican national team. And why would we talk a lot about them? Well, it's pretty easier said than done. Both teams miss the knockout round. Both teams will miss the quarterfinals. They got eliminated in group stages, and everybody has officially played, and so your bracket is set. Argentina, Ecuador, Venezuela, Canada, Colombia, Panama, and Uruguay, Brazil. Game that felt like it was going to be the championship match instead is going to be the quarterfinals match, which, again, Uruguay and Brazil, and Uruguay look like the best team so far in this tournament, although they knew that they were going to advance as the number one team in the group stage versus the United States, so they really just they ended up resting their starters against the U.S., and the U.S. had an opportunity to advance and could not. It came down to that as well. And then Argentina, Ecuador. Argentina should roll through Ecuador as well. Venezuela, Canada, that's going to be a tough match. Canada go through into the knockout round, into the quarterfinals, with only scoring 1 goal in the whole entire tournament. Somehow, some way that worked. But yes, that will be something to see if Canada can end up moving on to the semifinals, which would be pretty crazy to witness, but it wouldn't be as shocking as people might think, considering they have so many players from Europe as well. What do I mean by that? Yes, they're Canadian-born citizens. But for where they play, their clubs, some of them play in the MLS. others play across the pond in Germany, in England, in Belgium, in Portugal. And it's true. And they have success where they have been training harder than if they were to go to the U.S. because that game is just known so much better overseas is what I'm just trying to say. So anyway, Colombia, Panama. Colombia should advance to the semifinals as well to most likely play Uruguay. That's going to be a phenomenal game. All these matches played around Saturday and Friday, except for tomorrow we'll have Argentina, Ecuador. So each game basically just about has their own day. The only one that doesn't is on Saturday. Well, because 5 p.m. and 8 p.m., why not play two matches on that day? Now getting into the thick of things and explaining on why both the U.S. men's national team and the Mexican national team missed going to the next round. We'll start off with Group B. For Mexico, they score 4 points, and so do Ecuador. Why did Ecuador end up going through to the next round? Well, we go to goal differential. For the Mexican national team, they had 1 goal for, 1 goal against, equaling their total goal differential in this tournament to 0. Yes, they did get 3 points. But you have to go to that first match against Jamaica. Mexico played Jamaica on match day 1 of 3. These are 2 CONCACAF opponents. I think I talked about it last week. But Mexico national team only winning by a score of 1-0, which, yes, people would think a win is a win. But in soccer and in a tournament that has a group stage like this, a win is not a win. In that part, your goal is to score more than a goal in reality for the exact reason of goal differential. You don't want it to come down to that. But if it does, you got to score more goals than just 1. They scored 1 goal in this whole entire tournament and then played and then all of a sudden, for Mexico, their next match right after that, was an unfortunate match. Because then they played Ecuador. Well, check that. Then they played Venezuela and could not beat Venezuela. They lost 1-0 against Venezuela. And then Venezuela, of course, played Jamaica. And Jamaica was just trying to do something positive. They were able to do something positive in their second match and, were able to score a goal. But then, like I mentioned, for Mexico, they could not score another goal in this whole entire tournament. They lost, they drew 0-0, and that's where that 4th point came from, against none other than Ecuador. And Ecuador gets that 4th point. But guess what? They had a goal differential. They had 1 goal for, basically their goal differential was for 1 goal. And that was your difference. If Mexico scored 2 goals, maybe 3 goals, then they have a chance, because I don't think they're also going through because of the yellow card rule too. That's another tiebreaker in the end when you're tied on points and potentially goal differential is yellow cards. And, Mexico always stack up a lot of yellow cards when in their match, because that's how they play. They play desperately, especially when they need to play desperate. And it causes them so much, not pain, but they just have a ton of yellow cards in the end. And that's really where it kind of comes down to for them. And once again, it's just for that team, for that country, here's what will have to happen in order for them to get back on track somehow. We're not talking about World Cup because they're automatically qualified for the next World Cup. For Mexico, what do they need to do? Well, they've gone through about 5 coaches in the span of about 7 years. Maybe a little bit more than that, but that's kind of... That team is a revolving door of coaches. And again, I go back to it. The U.S. men's national team, yes, they're doing better than Mexico at the moment in soccer by winning domestic championships, but at the moment, they're not necessarily an elite team. It's a team that, honestly, Mexico should be competing with, but no, they haven't. They've been outscored by the United States when they play against them by about 5 goals in the recent years. 2-0, 3-0. I mean, that's 5 out of 2 games. And that's my point. It's just I don't know what to say for Mexico besides, well, first their fans need to behave themselves is part one, and then the next one is, of course, them cleaning house, I guess, in the federation. But that's all that I can think of. And then, of course, for the U.S. men's national team, well, they missed the knockout stage in a group that they should have. Remember, their group was Bolivia, Panama, and Uruguay, with the United States, of course. For U.S. men's national team, they won 2-0 against Bolivia. Great. Then they played Panama, and Timothy Weah lost his head after a foul, and fouls a player viciously off the ball. It was later deemed that Timothy Weah would be suspended for 2 matches and a hefty fine. So that's where that, of course, penalty came from. He was, of course, out for the rest of the tournament as well, with his suspension of 2 matches. And then, but that was during the Panama game. The Panamanian national team ends up beating the U.S. men's national team 2-1. And that was one of the crazier matches to think of, where the U.S. men's national team had it in control and could not continue, which was just unfortunate, like we talked about. But again, it goes deeper than that. Greg Berhalter, with his team that he chose, wasn't necessarily the best team. It didn't make a lot of sense, and the players didn't necessarily like him. And when Christian Pulisic, guess what? He was doing amazing at AC Milan, playing a ton of minutes, scoring a ton of goals for that team, was amazing. And then it went on and on and on the same exact way. Ricardo Pepi, and just these players were not necessarily breaking records, but playing solid minutes for their clubs, scoring goals, not getting hurt, and being defensive masterminds. And then they go to the U.S. men's national team training camp, and they lose 4-0 against Uruguay for the friendly. They draw Brazil, which turns out the Brazil draw didn't mean that much, because Brazil haven't necessarily been that impressive this whole entire Copa America. And then you advance on to that, beating Bolivia 2-0, great. Beat Panama, a club that a team that you've constantly been able to beat and play against and play well against. U.S. men's national team lose that match 2-1, and then had to think that Bolivia was going to beat Panama for some strange reason, and then the United States men's national team couldn't score in their final match. It came down to they just couldn't beat Panama, which was frustrating. And sure enough, now everybody is calling for Greg Berhalter to be fired, which is completely fair. I agree. Greg Berhalter does need to be fired, who would possibly be the replacement? Well, there's 4 coaches that are in the hunt to potentially take over if Greg Berhalter were to be fired. Because if we remember, not too long ago, after the World Cup, the U.S. men's national team were without a head coach for a while because the U.S. Soccer Federation was still thinking about renewing Greg Berhalter's contract for almost a whole entire year. And with all these talks of getting a different head coach and getting a different manager and all of this, the U.S. men's national team go back to Greg Berhalter. Made no sense. The U.S. men's national team still won their domestic cups like I talked about. Gold Cup. And then the Nations League Cup, constantly were winning that two straight years in a row. Perfect. So it was phenomenal from that get-go, but that was it. That was really the success that the U.S. men's national team have had under Greg Berhalter. He has not beaten the top 5 team or anything like that in the world. So frustrating. It's very frustrating. I hope that the U.S. men's national team are able to get a new head coach, because that's really where it comes down to, what it comes down to. And, of course, then the youth is messed up with the pay and play. That's a whole other story. We're about to hit 2:30, so we'll take a quick break. And when we return, we'll switch gears, talk softball, as we'll talk WPF and the fun stuff about this whole entire team of Coastal Bend Tideway. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
We live here. We work here. We love it here. Look for your motors in Brownsville, Texas. We're here for you.
Mott's Building Materials knows that some paint jobs are more important than others. That's why we pride ourselves on our customer color matching and wide selection of colors and options. Because even though some paint jobs are more important than others, Mott's Building Materials knows that each one is a work of art. Mott's Building Materials.
This spring, it's time to go outside and get some air. Explore a pirate ship. Or go horseback riding on the beach. And you can't forget about all the fun on the bay. South Padre Island has so much to do for the whole family. Book your spring getaway today. Visit SoPadre.com.
You hear all the time, whenever you hear of San Perlita, it's a basketball community. I'm the boys basketball coach for varsity. I played basketball with a couple of these guys, brothers. Anytime, I had my coaches around, it was like having a mentor in life. That's when I quickly realized, these guys don't just do it for the basketball. It's beyond basketball. It's creating a man out of these young boys at a young age. It goes from meeting your coaches and then them being your mentors, not just in basketball, but in life.
Graduation time. Time to make some decisions. What's next?
Back live we go once again here, talking sports here at Luke Fruia Motors, home of GMC, Buick, and of course Cadillac. In the market for a new car, stop by today in Brownsville. Anyway, once again, back to talking sports. We'll talk, some softball. Why not talk a little bit of some softball? It's always fun as we go switch gears to talk Coastal Bend Tidal Wave softball, and once again, also talking about the WPF, the Women's Professional Fast Pitch Softball League. It's a good league. 4 teams makes it pretty simple in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes some leagues, yes, this league has been together for a while, but of course some teams decided to move on to different leagues and things like that, and it wasn't necessarily logistical for them, and this is an all-Texas league, which makes it even more logistical for these teams. The only real outlier, of course, being the team up in Lubbock. And why is that? Well, it's just because there's no other team that's really remotely close to Lubbock in that span. We don't have a Dallas team or basically a team around Amarillo. It's Lubbock and San Antonio and Robstown. Am I missing a team? No, I'm not, because yes, one team is technically Austin, but they share in San Marcos. So San Antonio, technically San Marcos, and then Austin, technically San Marcos, because they play at Texas State's Bobcat Stadium. Bobcat Softball Stadium, I believe is what it's called. Anyway, my point to bring that up, is because in general, the logistics are pretty simple for these squads. It saves them money to be able to share a field, and it's not necessarily a field for just one team, which works out in the end because, it's a 4-team league, so one team will most likely be playing on the road, the other team will most likely be at home, and then there's going to be another 2 teams that will be playing against each other, whether or not that's home or away. So it's a really cool deal that basically the WPF have going on. I know that a lot of people have heard this before, but if you haven't, it's your first time to hear about this league, tune in. RSL 1 this weekend. Again, on the App Store. You can download our app, Rio Sports Live, off of Google Play and off of the Apple App Store. And then, of course, find it on Roku TV. Search up, Rio Sports Live. And then, of course, on the Android TV, search up Rio Sports Live. And one more off of it, Amazon Fire Stick. You can search it up on Rio Sports Live to find this app. And, of course, to find all the live games, really easy to find all of them, which is just a phenomenal thing about it. Also, you can technically use the website as well, riosportslive.com, which is just a good thing. I'd like to thank our sponsors once again, Luke Fruia Motors, for allowing us to do this show. I thought I'd get with talking about the sponsorships this afternoon. Anyway, moving on. Coastal Bend Tidal Wave is one of the teams and covered specifically by Rio Sports Live, which is always nice to just see. And at the Fairground Stadium, of course, for the homestand, Coastal Bend Tidal Wave played last week, 6 days ago to be exact, they had their Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games, 6:30, 6:30, 6:30, and 4 p.m., and that was at their home in Robstown Fairgrounds Stadium. Which was nice. Unfortunately, Coastal Bend were not able to win their games, but are still in a good contention. Again, playing Texas Smoke, a team that, well, I had been informed and also searched up on ESPN, has their own little 30-minute show, which is really cool. You type up Texas Smoke on ESPN Plus or anything like that, and it pops it up, I believe, on tryouts. And it's just a really cool little short show and shows how well that team did and practices and why they're the elite team of the whole entire league, which is really cool to watch. But again, this team for the Coastal Bend title, they have a great team ahead of them. The players, Whitley is such a key player for this side, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, or at least I said it to my coworkers. Coastal Bend can be such a successful team this season and win some key games and even some close games and technically upset. But their defense needs to start to get moving as best as possible. It's not like they don't have a defense in general. Besides Cannon, you also have Wiggins, Whitley. These are defensive stars. And Rylan Wiggins, for example, you look up her, just what she did for the 12th man for Texas A&M. In the SEC, may I remind you. The SEC now home to the defending national champion OU softball, the runner-up Texas University of Texas at Austin softball side, and then, of course, moving to the regional finals, or the super regionals to be exact. Texas A&M Aggies, Florida Gators, Final Four, and, of course, the NCAA tournament as well. Point is, softball is doing it pretty well in the SEC, and so it's not an easy conference. And she was, of course, a senior. Wiley is where she went to high school at. But again, it was very impressive in her whole entire career. Just off of her senior year, we'll just talk about her accolades, actually. 2024 SEC All-Defensive Team, second base. 2023 All-SEC First Team. 2021 All-SEC Freshman Team. 2021 First-Year SEC Academic Honor Roll. Then in her senior year, hit 3 for 7 in the regional, including 2 home runs. Or check that, including a home run, 2 RBIs, and scored 3 runs. Is one of 2 Aggies to have started every game this season, making starts at second base, third base, and shortstop. One of 3 Aggies on the team to have played over 225 career games, was 4 for 10 in the series at number 9 Florida, including a home run and 2 RBIs. Filled the stat sheet against Ole Miss on April 19th, hitting 2 for 2 with a double walk, stolen base, and 2 runs. Batted 2 for 2 with a double, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs in the series-clinching win over Kentucky. Was 1 for 3 with a 2-run home run in the series finale to sweep number 25 Auburn. Hit 7 of 15 with a home run, 3 doubles, 4 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases in 5 games at the Judy Garmin Classic. Match day career game, hitting two home runs and driving in 4 RBIs in the win over North Dakota State on February 24th. Went 2 for 2 with a home run, double, and 2 runs in opening day against Valpo. Point is absolutely such an impressive and a key player on second base. Now she plays for Coastal Bend Tidal Wave. Talk about her being so impressive, even on that team right now. Of course, like I mentioned, they're playing against top opponents like Texas Smoke, and then, of course, the Monarchs coming up here pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken. That's one of 2 players that really I want to focus on. Of course, you can see my shirt, but at that same time, it's just these players, well, they played for teams, or they played for a team that was on the up and up throughout their career, and they were on the up and up, making this team even better in the end. Having to play with a new head coach, of course, isn't necessarily the easiest, but definitely Texas A&M fans as well and alum could see that this team was starting to be a different side and looking to be a better softball team in the end. Then, of course, you have none other than Trinity Cannon, which has been just amazing. Talk about it once again. She was a senior, but here's what she did in her career for her accolades. 2024 NFCA All-South Region First Team, SEC Co-Player of the Week, SEC Co-Player of the Week, SEC Community Service Team in 2023, and 2021 First Year SEC Academic Honor Roll. But her career basically made 200 starts in 213 appearances, including 88 starts at first base, 81 at third base, and 31 as the designated player. Finished her career ranked number 4 in walks and number 8 in RBIs, 154 in Texas A&M history. That was her career, but started at 58 of 59 games, including 27 starts at first base and 31 as a designated player. Set career highs in batting average, .349, hits 51, home runs 18, RBI 63, 40 walks. Slugging percentage was 788, and on-base percentage was over 500, 503. While leading the Aggies with 17 multi-RBI games, as well as in hits, home runs, RBI slugging percentage, and on-base percentage, was dominant at the dish in the NCAA Super Regional, hitting 5 for 9 with 3 home runs, 1 double, 8 RBIs, 3 hit by pitches, 1 walk, and 5 runs, finishing the series with a 1.667 slugging percentage and 692 on-base percentage, hit 2 for 2 with a home run, double, walk, while matching her career high, 5 RBI, scoring twice at Sam Houston. April 24th was named SEC Co-Player of the Week on April 16th after registering a 1.5 OPS and was 5 for 8 at the dish with 4 walks in 3 games in the series victory at number 13. Number 13, Alabama. Hit home runs in the bookend games of the series sweep of number 25. Auburn was 3 for 9, including a home run, triple, and double in the series sweep of number 22. South Carolina, March 8th through 10th, smashed her second extra innings walk-off home run of the season in the 2-1 win in 10 innings over the Gamecocks. It goes on to continue her accolades, and let me tell you, it's even more. Just in her senior season alone, that's how dangerous Trinity Cannon can be behind the plate. Why do I bring all of this up once again? Because she's such a key player on the offensive front for Coastal Bend Tidal Wave, and she can be a danger to, well, just the whole entire team, which is perfect. Because, again, this Coastal Bend Tidal Wave team has plenty of offense. It's the defensive struggles that have hurt them this season, in my opinion. Yes. Forget the Texas Smoke series. Forget that one. The other series that they've had, like playing against the Araditas, the Lubbock team. That was their opening series of the season, may I remind you. And leading by 6 runs was key. But their defense allowed for the Araditas to get back into the game, tying it up and losing. The Araditas end up, of course, winning that game. It's just my point. This team has so much potential to really make it a series against Texas Smoke and to go 3 for 4 against the Monarchs as well. They can sweep the Adelitas when they play against them at home. There's chances, is my point, for this team to do so well in this season, which is phenomenal. But of course, it all starts with their core defense, because we named how well they can be. But that was just, of course, 2 players. We'll add on to a couple more. But I think for now, that's where we'll leave it at. Of course, still want to talk a little bit more coming up here soon. Coming up here shortly, as we'll just get you with the rundown of what's coming up here on Rio Sports Live, what you can expect to see not only this weekend, but the next upcoming weeks, as well as we get you counted down towards, well, August. And of course, well, we've got the beautiful Pony Little League World Series and the games of Texas that are all planned to be covered on Rio Sports Live. So stay tuned for all of that. We'll break a little bit of that down when we return. It's 2:45 p.m. here on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon on the 4th of July Eve. It is July 3rd, 2024. We'll be right back after this. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network here at the Luke Fruia Show on Talkin Sports. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
What are my options? At Brownsville ISD Career and Technical Education, you can graduate from high school with a certificate and or license ready to go to work, debt-free. We have a wide range of programs for every student, ranging from audiovisual, law enforcement, STEM robotics, electrical, welding, pharmacy, patient care tech, and many more to choose from. That's why Brownsville ISD is the best choice.
Mott's Building Materials knows that some paint jobs are more important than others. That's why we pride ourselves on our customer color matching and wide selection of colors and options. Because even though some paint jobs are more important than others, Mott's Building Materials knows that each one is a work of art. Mott's Building Materials.
Sherryland ISD, a nationally recognized district focusing on quality and rigorous instruction where every child is immersed in a culture of academic success. Sherryland ISD, excellence is our tradition.
Truck Techs in Harlingen is your source for lifts, wheels, and tires. Talking trucks of any size, any model, and any year. Specializing in accessories with top-of-the-line products to bring that special look to your truck in a professional way. Lifts, wheels, and tires, with financing available too. Call today or stop by Truck Techs in Harlingen.
We live here. We work here. We love it here. Look for your motors in Brownsville, Texas. We're here for you.
In Los Fresnos CISD, we are more than neighbors. We are school family and community, bonded by our commitment to quality education for all students. Connect with us today. Los Fresnos CISD. What we do here shapes the world.
Back live we go once again here. And of course, just to let you all know, you can watch us once again. Actually, let me shout this out first. Follow us on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, at Rio Sports Live. Then you can like us on Facebook at RSL Network. Have to put that in. It's not Rio Sports Live there. It's RSL Network on Facebook. And then as well, don't forget to also subscribe to us on YouTube, as we do a lot of shorts on that. Just search up Rio Sports Live, and then that will also get you into, well, watch this on replay once it's uploaded onto the Rio Sports Live channel. And our Rio Sports Live app that happens to be on Apple Play Store, Google Play Store, and of course, Roku TV, and none other than Android TV, as well as Amazon Fire Stick. All you have to do is search up Rio Sports Live, and you'll find it there, and you'll be able to watch the live games going on then on live TV from all of our different channels. And you can also click on recent games, and that will also bring you to recent shows that you can watch on demand. So moving on once again, talking about what's coming up for Rio Sports Live Network. Once again, we have the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave. They will be playing a series this weekend, starting tomorrow. Stay tuned on Rio Sports Live on RSL 1 and on all of our platforms to see when, of course, it kicks off. You can, or first pitch happens. You can also follow Coastal Bend Tidal Wave on there as well for their specific update. But yes, it's by the WPF, but we get to, well, Rio Sports Live Network gets to cover the none other than Coastal Bend Tidal Wave specifically. And so it's always a blast to be able to, well, get to cover professional sports, whatever it may be. It's the best, and it only grows this channel. It only grows Rio Sports Live to the best of its ability with stuff like that. And, well, of course, right now, the only two leagues and the only softball that you're going to get this summer is what I'm trying to say is, well, the WPF, and of course the league that is occasionally shown on ESPN. because there's no softball in this 2024 Olympics. There will be plenty of softball and plenty of baseball in 2028 Olympics when it is in LA and, of course, in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the beautiful, beautiful ballparks that they have up in Oklahoma in the summer of 2028. But, of course, like I mentioned this year in the Olympics, they are without baseball and softball, and the rest of it will, of course, be filled up with surfing, skateboarding, of course, with rock climbing. We'll have classic swimming, tennis, all of that for the Paris Olympics. But I just wanted to bring that up, that's where you'll get to watch the softball, professional softball this summer, as well as on Rio Sports Live 1. That brings us into, well, the Little League World Series, the Pony Little League World Series to be exact, that will be played in McAllen, Texas as well, near Bicentennial. We were able to cover it last year. Guess what? We'll be covering it this year at Rio Sports Live on the RSL 1 channel as well. That comes up on, I believe, the July 21st weekend, all the way from that Thursday all the way till the Sunday when a champion is crowned. Last year was the Philippines. This year, well, they'll have a couple of extra teams from the likes of the Dominican Republic, the likes of Japan, China, and Puerto Rico coming back as well, Mexico teams and U.S. teams. And I believe that I'm forgetting one more country potentially. El Salvador, I believe, is coming down to play in this tournament as well. So that's going to be packed. Like I said, that's still a couple of weeks away, but it's getting closer and closer to that. We also have the Games of Texas. The Games of Texas being played in Brownsville, Texas. And the list of events that will be there is track and field, soccer, basketball. We'll have some volleyball, beach volleyball as well. And it should be extremely fun time of the summer, not to mention next Monday actually, starts the Highway 83 Volleyball League as that rolls into the 2024 volleyball season for high school, as well as then on Tuesday of next week, we will have none other than the Venom League. The Venom Volleyball League that's always hosted in Edinburgh, Texas at the Vipers Practice Facility. I was trying to think of the official name, but really if you type in Vipers Practice Facility, it pops up as exactly that. So always fun, as it is 2:56 p.m. We're trying to go all the way till 3 p.m. It's been a fun show to just talk a little bit about it. A little bit of rants, but really, for the most part, they've been very factual in the sense of what I was talking about. But what gets so much going on for Rio Sports Live this weekend, of course, we have none other than some boxing for you. Boxing in Edinburgh, Texas, around the Edinburgh, Ebony Hills golf course, around that area. For you all, it's of course the infamous, I guess, or famous for RGV, the cook-off that they have there, of course. And they'll have some boxing, and they'll have a nice concert from the Josh Abbott Band, and we will be there to cover the boxing portion of it, thankfully. And it's fun. It's going to be very fun to just watch, cover, and be there for some beautiful I know it's not the 4th of July when it is, but it's that Saturday, and it couldn't be a better way to spend Saturday evening to cover some boxing and just to potentially enjoy some live music. But yeah, that's really going to do it from us here. We got a couple of minutes. Final thoughts, of course. It's going to be a fun weekend. Look forward to, of course, spending time with family tomorrow for the 4th of July. Be safe, everybody. Be careful. Still Yes, we've had some rain. It's not as bad as it normally is, but right now today it's pretty windy. I expect it to be windy tomorrow, so just be careful when playing with fireworks. Do everything correctly. There should be no issues. Stay safe, of course, and next week should be an interesting show as well. Hopefully we'll be here on Wednesday. We'll see what the weather has in store for us. As tropical moisture in the air once again, and is forecasted to be a lot of rain next week. Thankfully, for a lot of our events next week will be indoors, but come Wednesday, that'll be something to keep an eye on. And of course, for the series this next week in San Antonio, or San Marcos to be exact, for the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave. Of course, they've got to focus on this week first. We'll focus on the rest of this week as well. But I've been Jacob Young. This has been a Rio Sports Live presentation. And until next time, we will see you all back here at Luke Fruia Motors. Stay tuned for more coverage this week. But once again, I've been Jacob Young. And until next time, ciao.